Hello, Brobs. We're back with more books. I believe this is New Arrivals number 198. I don't know. Could be. But also got me a Brauhaus Detroit coffee mug, beer mug. But let's get on with this. These are today's finds. This book, The Creature Catalog, A Monster Watcher's Guide, by Michael Berenstein. It's actually quite valuable. Most of the ones going on eBay right now are 100 plus, but most that have sold are in the $60 to $75 range. I believe I got this for 25 cents. 1982. I will do a full feature on this one, so I'm not going to belabor this. It's a bit roughed up. Got some moisture exposure. But yeah, it's a pretty nice book. 25 cents. I will do every page by page, maybe read it. I don't know if that's possible. Looks like it's short enough to be read in its entirety, so I will do that later. 13 at Dinner by Agatha Christie. Very nice palmistry sort of motif here. I like it. I love it, bruv. Actually, I didn't see a first edition of this, but if I had, which is in hardcover, it's worth quite a bit of money. It's good to know that, isn't it, bruv? It was absolutely indecent. It was also highly irregular, completely illegal and dangerous. What the beautiful actress had actually suggested to Hercule Poirot was that he planned the perfect way to get rid of her husband. Of course, the idea of Poirot being involved in such a scheme was absurd. That is, until the husband turned up dead. And I fucking repeat myself. Stop pulling the sticker, bruv. Up the most perfect alibi ever invented. With over 200 million copies of her book sold, Agatha Christie is unequaled as a renowned and distinguished author of ingenious tales of mystery and suspense. And all that was fueled by my mania to get that goddamn sticker off. The 7% Solution being a reprint from the reminiscences of John H. Watson. I fucking can't read. I can't do it. The smash #1 coast to coast bestseller. Obviously, this goes into my Sherlock Holmes collection. City of the Beasts by Isabel Allende. I think there was a reason why I didn't get this book before. I've seen it, I believe, or maybe I saw something else. But I got it today because it was half off. I happened into... Why did I think this lady was like 200 years old? I happened into the store, the Volunteer of America store, and didn't realize it was half off day. Had I known, I would not have gone there. I would have gone there yesterday because I hate dealing with the crowds who are not only rude, but voluminous. These mother effing stickers. This is the last one I'm pulling off, I promise. Oh, I promise. That one hardly came off, so now I'm stuck with it. The City of Beasts. The Red Badge of Courage, obviously Stephen Crane, obviously a modern library edition, obviously a classic. like someone painted her red. Was that not red? Colorblind, I've stated before. Look at this. Did not see that, but I still would have purchased it either way. Stephen Crane. English 11. 1930s. 1925. Something tells me it's a little bit later than that. Oh, what's this? I always loved the old book. It's got underlining and stuff, but I've never read this book, so maybe I will. Mostly books, complete selection of paperbacks and hardbacks. Can you think of a better gift than a book? Yeah. $10,000, buddy. Lots of underlining, lots of notation, etc., but don't care. This will probably mar the jacket further, but still a pretty cool edition. Old Jules by Marie Sandos. This book has some value in the $10 range. It is a magnificent job. The great virtue of Miss Sandos's book is that you can see it happening. There's a good deal of America in Old Jules. It is, heaven knows, an enthralling story, but it is more than that and much deeper. It is an experience in citizenship, realistic biography. A rare find. I'm putting down this book. One feels that one has read the history of all pioneering. He's some kind of pioneer. I don't know exactly who he was, but an original copy of his book. Maybe he didn't write a book. Maybe she wrote the original. The Judges. Old Jules is the biography of my father, Jules Ami Sandos. I have also tried, in a larger sense, to make it the biography of a community, the upper Niobrara country in western Nebraska. All right, so it has nothing to do with me, but still interesting. And I got it for 30 cents, so maybe if I could flip it for 10, 15 bucks. This one has Detroit connections. As you can see, H.C.L. Jackson was a writer, I believe, for the Detroit News or the Free Press, one of the two. I believe it was the News. Could be wrong. Left Hand Up and Other Stories by H.C.L. Jackson is the author's fifth book. It closely paces the emotions and wartime activities of Detroit's 2 million, back when Detroit was a real city. Mr. Jackson's steady flow of anecdotes and sketches shows that Detroit is human and unpredictable as it has always been dynamic. Not sure which paper it was, but does it really matter? I figured there'd be a Hudson's label in here. If you go to John King Books in Detroit, which is the second largest, it is from the Detroit News. Paper I delivered back in my youth. This almost looks like a reprint. Anyway, if you go to John King Books, you will find many of his books in the Detroit section. Problem with many of his stories, like this kind of guy. So you think Jim's a good writer. They're just a bunch of anecdotal stories, and they don't. Very rarely do they mention a full name, so you could take it down to a person. So they're about people, but they're undistinguished stories in that maybe some are true. Most of them, I think, were true, but as I've stated, there's no real relevance to them since they're stories about nothing almost. They're just about the incident is more or less the moral of the story. It's the act and not the person, which is fine, but then you have a specific story about a certain park or whatever. You'd like to know who the guy was, but you're not getting to know, not with H.C.L. Jackson. But anyway, picked that one up for $2.12, and it's pretty rare to find these with, not rare, but not often you find the dust jacket on these books. I have several of his books. I may even have one of these over there on my shelf. but I'm not going to go get it. Maybe I will. Don't look at the stuff on the floor. I thought I saw one over here, but I may have taken it upstairs. There's Eugene Field. I know when I sorted these out about a month ago, I saw an H.C.L. Jackson book. And again, I started putting some on the stairway, so probably have too many books. Perhaps. I know I saw one over here. Does that say The Travels of Baron Munchausen? There it is, right there. Back to Vatican. See, I think this is an older edition. It's got those old-looking boards. 1946, so it's just made to look older. Back to Vatican. So, yeah. Obviously, I must have multiple copies, or I would not have abandoned it over here. Get inside the box. Selected poems of Ezra Pound, a poet who has more or less been relegated to the margins due to his raging during World War II when he went to Italy and just went insane. I mean, he wasn't wrong about what he was saying about America, but you can't do that during a war on enemy radio. So he was sentenced to, what was it, St. Elizabeth's in New York, and finally he was pardoned by somebody. Coitus, the gilded phalloi of the crocuses, thrusting at the spring air, here is their knot of dead gods. But a procession of festival, a procession, Giulio Romano, fit for your spirit to dwell in. Dion, your nights are upon us, the dew is upon the leaf, the night about us is restless. Yeah, he's a strange one, but one of our more adept poets, unlike these newfangled fuckers like Jory Graham and the likes, Bob Hickok. What's that guy? Billy Collins. Just rubbish. This guy at least was brilliant. Yes, he had some issues, but at least he was brilliant. That's all that we ask for in our poets, and we don't have very many brilliant poets. All right, that sticker's gone. This book is one Walking as He Walked by Zepp. No relation to Led Zepp. Mrs. Lydia. What does that say? Don't know. Walking as He Walked, or Holiness in Action. Reverend Arthur C. Zepp, 1912. The Christian Witness Company. Obviously, the book is a bit beaten. Weathered. Good old Zepp. 50 cents for Zepp. I'll plan to sell Zeppy. I promise not to take another one off, but this one should be really easy. See, I don't mind them on hardcovers because they come right off. Zepp, Walking as He Walked. Serpent of Light Beyond 2012, The Movement of the Earth's Kundalini and the Rise of the Female Light, 1949 to 2013, Drunvalo Melchizedek. This book's rather marked up and not particularly worth a lot, but as a reading copy, it is good enough. And I'm not pulling that off. Part travel adventure, part spiritual instruction. Drunvalo Melchizedek. This new book is a first-hand account of A once in 13,000 years process when Mother Earth's Kundalini energy emerges from the planet's core and moves like a snake to its new home. Right. We the Drowned by Karsten Jensen. This book I only picked up because it was a quarter. It's got some minor value, $6, $7, $8 range, but I don't know. Just seemed different from most fiction. Maybe something I can trade with somebody online or something, or who knows what. At some point, I'm sure thrift books will need another copy, and maybe I'll sell it to them. A novel of immense authority and ambition and beauty by a master storyteller at the height of his powers. This is a book to sail into, to explore, to get lost in, but it is also a book that brings the reader dazzled by wonders home to the heart from which great stories come. Yes, they will. Yes, they do. A Holiday History of Scotland, Ronald Hamilton. I was on the fence with this one because it was a 95-cent book, but since it had the Mylar jacket, I have multifarious. Is that the word? Multifarious, multifaceted. Who knows? Uses for it. The object of this third volume is exactly the same as that of the other two books. An introductory chapter brings you to the year 1034, after which the history of Scotland unroils itself reign by reign until 1820. Thereafter, a closing chapter brings you down to the present day. This technique is used because guidebooks continually bring the traveler back to kings, queens, and dates. This book I found for $2 at the Step thrift store, which is a local store, local chain that has about 3 or 4 stores. Mainly employs handicapped workers. And if you're very impatient standing in line, you better grow some patience if you're going to these stores, because sometimes the teller or the cashier is challenged to a point where you're going to wait for quite a while, 5 minutes to check out a book or pay for a book, but it's a good employment opportunity for people who need it, so can't really complain. Found this book, House Framing, Barn Framing, Roof Framing by Radford. And Radford was an architectural company, as you can see, architectural company from 1909. This book has pretty good value, but the frontis is pulled out. But if you want to build a barn or a house, this was the book for you back then, I guess. House framing, barn framing, framing of industrial buildings, strength of timbers, truss factors, my stomach growling. I saw one of these sell recently for $65. Others listed for more than that, but obviously it's not in great condition, but it's pretty cool. I like the house too, the old Victorian looking houses. $2. When the Railroad Was King by Frank N. Elliott. I assume that Eberbrock Ward is mentioned in here, but I don't know. I may have this. I know I have When Pine Was King, but I don't know if I have When the Railroad Was King. See if we can find Eberbrock Ward, the Père Marquette. That's where he was. That's the one he owned for a while. If you don't know who Eberbrock Ward is, then you're missing one of the great spiritualists of the 19th century. Was he? 30-cent book. Half off. Eberbrock Ward was the Henry Ford of manufacturing in Detroit in the 1850s to his death in 1875. He was a friend of Lincoln, a devout abolitionist, devout spiritualist who had spiritualist readings every day. Half of his kids were disabled or mentally insane and went to institutions. There's my stomach again. Most of his family died rather young, before the age of 30, and all their wealth was taken by his second wife and divided up between her children, what's her name? Clara Ward, who became the Princess of Chimay. So yeah, even though that book's not about him, I'm sure he's part of this. Regicide, the official assassination of John F. Kennedy. This book I'd never heard of, but oh my God, what the flup is this? Year is this, 2002? Set in Century School Book, 9 point. Yeah, whoever did this bibliography should be fucking sued. That's embarrassing. That's embarrassing. It's embarrassing font. I mean, this whole book is somewhat embarrassing. But it's got value. I didn't know it when I picked it up. I would have bought it regardless, but I looked it up. It was selling for 30 bucks a copy. So for 50 cents, I can't really complain. And now I have about 50 books on Kennedy and the assassinations, but have not read any. Maybe I should start reading them. Get some real kooks on here. I better hurry. I only got 6 minutes left of time available on this camera. The Book of the Courtesans, a catalog of their virtues by Susan Griffin. I believe this is women, a time when other women were denied all of these. Let's see who's part of this. I'm thinking maybe Clara Ward's part of this, but I don't know. Timing, what good is there needed? What is a courtesan needed? What is a courtesan anyways? Is it like a hooker? Or just the importance of having a good time? Since William Brune. Mistresses, what are they? The fuck is a courtesan? Sarah Bernhardt, Bella Pock, Raphael Boucher. I don't know. Clara Ward's in her than she is. I can't. Carnal Knowledge. La Paiva, the Third Erotic Station. I don't know what the hell it's about. Looks like it's about hookers. The Short Novels of Henry James, with 8 pages of illustrations and an introduction by E. Hudson Long. This book has been sitting at that thrift store for quite a while, and I never bought it because it was $1. And do I really need a Viking giant book of Titan edition of Henry James? The answer is no. But now that it was 50 cents, I did need it, obviously. What happened to the price tag? It's not on there, but it was 50 cents, I believe. Daisy Miller. I don't really know anything. Daisy Miller, Washington Square, The Aspirin Papers, The Pupil, The Turn of the Screw. I honestly know nothing about Henry James. So I really can't comment on him. Nice vintage copy with a decent dust jacket, 61. So if I could ever get this off here. Yeah, I can take the dust jacket off, but I don't know. Maybe I can't. Looks like it's affixed. And I'd rather know. I think it's just the... See, I hate pulling these back because I hate leaving that stuff on there. But the jacket itself looks pretty good. But I don't think it's worth even bothering with. But yeah, that's all. Goodbye, bruv.